When talking about art, a very common critique to hear is that something's style over substance, meaning that it might be cool looking, it might be cool sounding, or it might have a cool feeling to it, but there's nothing really going on there. Usually, this is a bad thing. You know, even if it's meant as not the worst thing in the world, it'd usually be like, it's more style over substance. But, I mean, I'm sure we all have an artist or two that we're like, I like them, but, you know, they're kind of just doing the same thing over and over again, maybe. I'll find actually too that I think this is more reserved for like mainstream artists. Like, it's rare that somebody's not really popular and gets this critique. I think like Drake is somebody that gets this critique a ton. Everyone's like, he's just doing the same thing over and over again. He just has a style that people like. And I think it's interesting because overall, it's hard to disagree with the sentiment of this, right? Even if we're not gonna go too deep into it here, I think that it's pretty easy to be like, yeah, we've all seen that once or twice, right? Whether it's the worst thing or just like a feature, we've all seen it. So I think we all understand it, but I think that with that being said, as much as I am somebody that loves substance and is at times a huge snob about it even, I think there's a voice to be given to the idea that we're in an era now where aesthetics are everything. If you can make a TikTok and convey that something has depth through style rather than taking the time and risking the retention to display substance, maybe that's all it takes these days. Maybe style is not all we have left, but the name of the game now. Of course, I think it should be stated here that the optimal scenario would be that you can do both. You know, you could have style, you can have substance, you can go viral that way. People will be like, man, this is cool, and it's awesome. I think there are examples of that happening. I think that it's less common than being full of style or full of substance. I think it's less common for somebody to do both. Usually if they do both, they're extremely successful because that's awesome. But for the purposes of this video, while we talk about aesthetics and style being the name of the game, I want to kind of just step away from that for a second because both are possible. That's the optimal scenario. I think that's all the credence we need to give to it. Let's talk about something being full of style versus full of substance. First of all, I think we should define this, right? Just to make things clear. I think something that's full of style will have great aesthetic quality. It'll be very good looking, very good sounding. Maybe it'll even seem unique, right? And an important feature of this conversation is we can't treat uniqueness as being substance. We're going to treat uniqueness as simply novelty here. Because I think that there's an easy route to go where we could be like, uniqueness is substance in itself, but there are things that are full of substance that aren't very unique and are very unique. There are things that are full of style that aren't unique and are very unique. I think these things can be features of either one, so I don't think it's fair to treat uniqueness as a substance in itself. I think uniqueness is an exterior element here, right? So style is usually going to be something that has the feeling of being unique or very good looking, and it has its merit based off of that. Usually this is something that's going to be, and once again, this is a generalization, a little bit easier to consume. Whereas substance is going to be something that has great meaning, right? It sticks with people longer, on average. At least that's the way we treat substance, even though that's not always true. I think things with great style can stick around longer. And it just it has meaning. I think that's the name of the game. It's meaning versus what form does that meaning take, right? Style is the form that something takes. And if we look at that short little bullet list, the very imperfect one, where I think I repeated myself multiple times on both categories, and maybe even contradicted myself, style's very suited for the age of social media. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. This is how most art is spread. I can't name too many songs on my playlist I've added in the last month that I didn't find on social media. Most of these I did find on social media. I think trends on things like TikTok lead to a ton of songs being found. Even if I don't find it directly from a social media, I'm finding it from something adjacent to a social media. All my friends are on these things, so maybe we'll be together, they'll play a song. Oh, this is great, where'd you find this? Oh, I found it on social media. Song that comes to mind that I've been listening to is that song Love Me Not. That's very popular right now. My friend showed it to me, and he found it on Instagram, I want to say, right? So this is how art spread, right? So I'm not going to make the distinction of art versus art on social media, because I think that would be almost splitting hairs, right? There's a lot of art still, if you're willing to look, that is existing just in things like local scenes, especially being here in New York. I see a ton of stuff that I don't see ever on social media, right? That's very common. More common than people want to make it sound. But the vast majority of art, at least our cultural conception of what is the popular art, is still being spread via social media with some movies. And honestly, if you're bigger than social media, all that means is you appear on social media more. You get what I mean? Like, when a movie does really well and maybe some sort of cultural acclaim will come, it'll be hitting social media and getting like almost an organic ad campaign just on its own merit, which is great. But the fact is, social media is the name of the game for art right now. I think it's really hard to argue that it's not, even with the great local scenes that still do exist in many places, right? So, style, being quick, having a novelty to you, having a uniqueness, or even just something that stands out that maybe isn't unique, but is very visually pleasing, very attention-grabbing, is going to get you a lot more buzz on social media, right? Because the way that videos do well is based off retention. If every single person that clicks this video watches it from the beginning to the end, they leave a like, they leave a comment, positive or negative, the video is going to do much better, right? Especially if everybody that sees it clicks on it too. Versus where if, let's say, a fifth of the people do click on it, maybe a tenth of that fifth watches it, the video is not going to do as well, right? I think that's actually the most interesting thing about social media is, like, I'm sure you've all seen, especially because I know a lot of artists watch, like, huge amounts of advice being given of, like, if you're on social media, this is what you need to do. The most interesting thing to me is that all this advice can be very good. I mean, I apply some of it myself when I see it because I tried to, you know. But, like, the most important thing on social media is they just want people to stay to see ads. If people are clicking and watching, things are going to do well, right? And what gets people to click and watch? Usually it's style, you know? Even if, I mean, listen, there are some video essayists that do amazing things, right? Like, they make videos that genuinely will have you reevaluating your life. So many people. Horses comes to mind. Horses has over 1 million subscribers. He's an amazing essayist, right? I don't even want to call him a video essayist because I feel that what he's doing is, like, genuinely its own, like, essay kind of thing, right? Like, he could totally release a book of essays. He is still subject to these forces of style being prioritized. If I make something that is full of substance, let's say I literally come up with a new philosophical theory, a groundbreaking theory, something that if I were to release it into the world and everybody were to know it, it would change humanity forever. And I title it that. I title it based around my theory. I title it with something adequate to the theory itself, and I, you know, make sure that the thumbnail shows off some of that great substance that I have there. That will never do as well on social media, right? But if I'm able to have style in the thumbnail, if I'm able to make sure the style is there too, that'll do well. Unfortunately, things are not always as great as that where you can get both these. Usually you get one or the other, and as much as Horses is a great example of having both of these, he still is subject to style. I think style comes first. You can have a ton of style without substance, and that will do well, but you can never have a ton of substance without style. Rarely have a bunch of substance without style. You are subject, by the way the algorithms work, to these whims of style. They are the most important thing. They control all of us now. So, based on that, doesn't it make sense that style is the name of the game? So should we be judging things more off their style, I think is the next question. I want to say no, just because I still do cling on to some of the ways that old things are done, honestly, and I think that's a really bad answer, not very thought out. But I think also that, you know, people are very gifted in one of these directions usually. Like I was saying, people that are able to do both very well are typically the exception, at least from what you see the most obvious places. I think if you're somebody who's like, I have a great eye for style, and I can make things that do great, I think maybe you should work on developing substance over time, and like that's how that can come. You know what I mean? Like, I honestly think, as much as I've just made this whole thing that I stand by, saying that like I think substance is failing right now and style is sort of the name of the game, as much as I do believe that, I also believe that 5 years from now, it will be people that have both doing so well. Because I think already, if you look at YouTube right now, in the year 2025 versus 2020, you need to be a lot higher quality right now to do well on this platform, right? Or you need to be way in the opposite direction because some stuff's doing well in that opposite direction. If you look 5 years before that, though, compare it in time 10 years, right? 2025, 2015. The average video in 2015, the production quality, the substance, the style, all of them are way lower. Now, people have more style and more substance than ever. I only see things going in a direction that, as much as these aesthetics are important, as much as they're all that we really have a grasp on right now, I think that we're going to hit a point of saturation where it's unacceptable to not have a great deal of substance along with that style, because I think anybody's going to be able to nail that style with enough copying. Eventually. But yeah, this is the painting. I have 2 more with these colors, guys. I'm going to do 7 or 6. I don't know. Yeah, no, 6. I want to do the same amount with each color palette, right? Because I think it's only fair I give it a good old try. This is my favorite this has looked so far. I'll say that. I think them touching is interesting. It's just color swatches though right now, you know what I mean? The one thing I'm struggling with off these color series paintings is, are these allowed to be interesting based on texture? Because I think this has more visual interest than the other two because of these streaks right here, because of these imperfections. But I guess those streaks and imperfections would be just as interesting no matter the colors, right? So I'm struggling with this color series of like, how do I genuinely narrow down colors till I just get a feeling out of those? But I guess that's the whole point, is I'll know when I see it, right? So go check this out. It'll be up on the Instagram later this week. And until next time, guys, gals, and pals, my name is Max Dice. This has been Paint and Talk episode 181. I'm here every morning, painting and talking with you all.